It's late afternoon at a nearly empty gas station somewhere between two towns most people have never heard of. A motorcycle rolls up beside the last working pump. The rider gets off slowly. Their jacket is covered in dust. Their shoulders are stiff. The temperature has changed twice since morning, and dark clouds are gathering over the road ahead. They've been riding for hours. The next motel is still a long way away. Someone filling up a pickup truck looks at the motorcycle, then at the rider, and asks the question riders hear all the time. Why would you travel like that when you could just take a car? The rider gives a simple answer. It clears my head. But that answer hides more than it explains. Because a motorcycle doesn't protect you from the world the way a car does. There's no climate-controlled cabin, no comfortable seat you can disappear into, no barrier between your body and the wind, rain, heat, noise, insects, road debris, and sudden changes in temperature. You can't completely tune out. You can't pretend the weather isn't happening. And when something goes wrong, you feel the consequences immediately. So why do some people willingly spend hundreds or even thousands of miles traveling this way? The usual explanation is that they're chasing adrenaline. They like danger, they're rebellious, they want to escape responsibility. But long-distance riding is rarely one continuous thrill. Speed can create excitement for a few seconds. Distance demands something very different. It demands patience, preparation, repetition, attention, and the ability to remain psychologically steady when your body is tired, the plan has failed, and the road ahead is still uncertain. The attraction may not be danger at all. It may be the strange kind of mental clarity that appears when comfort, distraction, and outside control are stripped away. And that clarity tends to reveal 5 rare psychological traits. But there's an important complication. The same trait can come from confidence or fear, freedom or protection, healthy resilience, or years of learning that your needs don't matter. Two riders may choose the same road for completely different reasons. The first rare trait is a high tolerance for uncertainty. Before a long ride, you can check the weather, inspect the bike, download the route, calculate fuel stops, reserve a room, pack tools, and prepare for emergencies. But at some point, preparation ends. The road begins, and the road does not care about your plan. A storm can appear earlier than expected. A gas station can be closed. Construction can send you 50 miles in the wrong direction. A mechanical problem can begin as a vibration you can barely feel. Fatigue can arrive before the destination does. Most people try to reduce uncertainty before they act. The long-distance rider learns to act while uncertainty is still present. That doesn't mean being careless. In fact, experienced riders are often extremely careful. They reduce the risks they can reduce. They study routes, monitor conditions, maintain their equipment, and pay attention to the small signals that inexperienced people ignore. But they also understand something many people struggle to accept. Complete control is impossible. Real confidence is not believing that everything will go according to plan. It is believing that you can respond when it doesn't. Imagine you're riding through unfamiliar country when the sky turns almost black. The temperature drops. The wind begins pushing the motorcycle sideways, and the road you plan to take is suddenly blocked. You have no perfect option. You can stop and search for shelter. You can slow down and continue carefully. You can change your route, even if it adds hours. You can admit that today's destination no longer matters. The psychologically important moment is not the storm. It's what happens inside you when the plan stops protecting you. Some minds interpret uncertainty as a warning that they should never have begun. The unexpected becomes proof that the entire decision was a mistake. Other minds shift quickly from "this shouldn't be happening" to "this is happening, what can I do now?" That shift is one of the deepest skills long-distance travel can expose. But even this strength has 2 possible origins. For one rider, tolerance for uncertainty may come from genuine self-trust. They have faced enough challenges to know that discomfort is temporary, and problems can be solved one decision at a time. For another, the same tolerance may have developed in an unstable environment. Maybe plans were never reliable. Maybe promises changed without warning. Maybe they learned early that safety did not come from predictable circumstances. It came from staying alert and adapting faster than everyone else. From the outside, both riders look calm. Inside, one may be thinking, I can handle what comes. The other may be thinking, I never expected anything to be dependable. The behavior is the same. The emotional history may be completely different. And accepting uncertainty only works if you possess the second rare trait, the ability to direct your attention from within. Long stretches of highway can look empty, but they are never mentally empty. The rider is constantly monitoring the road surface, mirrors, wind, traffic patterns, fuel level, engine sound, body tension, temperature, and signs of fatigue. Attention has to move, wide enough to notice the environment, narrow enough to respond to a specific threat, calm enough not to treat every shadow as danger, alert enough not to drift into automatic behavior. In everyday life, many people depend on outside stimulation to organize their minds. The phone vibrates. Someone starts a conversation. A video plays in the background. Music fills the silence. Notifications decide what deserves attention next. On a long ride, especially through isolated areas, much of that disappears. There may be no one to talk to, no screen to check, no new entertainment every 30 seconds. You are left with the road, the machine, the environment, and your own mind. For some people, that feels unbearable. Without external stimulation, thoughts begin competing for attention. Old conversations return. Unfinished worries become louder. Boredom turns into restlessness, and restlessness starts searching for an escape. But certain writers can create structure from inside themselves. They don't need constant novelty because attention is not merely something the world takes from them. It is something they can direct. Mile after mile, they move between observation and reflection. They notice the angle of the sun, a change in the pavement, a truck drifting slightly toward the center line, the pressure of their hands on the grips. Then a memory appears, a decision they've been avoiding, a feeling they couldn't name at home. The mind approaches it, moves away, and returns later. This can be a form of genuine presence. The external demand of writing may quiet the mental noise because the brain has a clear job. There is less room for imaginary arguments, social comparison, or the endless rehearsal of possible futures. But there is another side to this. A demanding task can also become a container for emotions a person does not know how to face while standing still. Some riders feel peaceful on the road because they are comfortable with their inner world. Others feel peaceful because the road keeps that inner world occupied. As long as the body is moving, the mind has something immediate to solve. The next curve, the next fuel stop, the next weather system, the next 100 miles. Motion can create focus, but focus can sometimes become avoidance with excellent discipline. That doesn't make the experience fake. It simply creates a difficult question. Does the road help you hear your thoughts, or does it give you a respectable reason to never fully sit with them? That question becomes even sharper when the body starts hurting, because the third rare trait is voluntary discomfort tolerance. After several hours on a motorcycle, discomfort stops being an interruption. It becomes part of the environment. Wind pushes against your helmet. Heat collects inside your gear. Cold finds the small spaces around your gloves and collar. Your back becomes stiff. Your knees want a different position. Noise creates fatigue even when you think you've adjusted to it. The rider does not necessarily enjoy any of this. What may be unusual is the ability to feel discomfort without immediately interpreting it as a reason to quit. Many people have learned to treat discomfort as evidence that something is wrong. If a task becomes frustrating, they assume it's not for them. If progress feels slow, they question the goal. If the body feels tired, they believe motivation has disappeared. But long-distance riding teaches a more precise distinction. Discomfort is information. It is not always an emergency. There is a difference between stiffness and injury, between inconvenience and danger, between wanting relief and actually needing to stop. An experienced rider learns to listen without dramatizing and respond without ignoring. They adjust their posture, drink water, take a break before exhaustion becomes dangerous. Add a layer before the cold becomes overwhelming. Change the destination when continuing would no longer be wise. Healthy endurance is not the absence of limits. It is an accurate relationship with limits. And that is where the trait becomes psychologically complex. Some riders continue because they understand that temporary discomfort is the price of a meaningful experience. Others continue because stopping feels like failure. Maybe their identity is built around being tougher than everyone else. Maybe they are proud of needing less, complaining less, or enduring more. That identity can look admirable until the body's needs are treated like weakness. A person may say, "I can handle it," when what they really mean is, "I'm not allowed to need anything." They may ignore exhaustion, not because they are resilient, but because care feels unfamiliar. Perhaps they grew up in an environment where pain did not receive attention, where asking for help created embarrassment, where being useful, quiet, and undemanding was the safest role to occupy. Over time, endurance becomes more than a skill. It becomes proof of worth. The rider no longer tolerates discomfort to complete the journey. They seek discomfort to confirm who they believe they have to be. That is the difference between resilience and self-neglect. Resilience says, "This is difficult, and I can care for myself while continuing." Self-neglect says, "My needs don't matter as long as I keep moving." From the outside, both may look strong. Only one allows the person to stop without feeling ashamed. And whether someone can stop wisely often depends on the fourth rare trait, a strong internal sense of control. Long-distance riding creates an unusually direct relationship between decisions and consequences. You check the tires or you don't. You notice the unusual vibration or you ignore it. You secure the luggage correctly or you discover your mistake at highway speed. You rest before becoming dangerously tired, or you convince yourself that discipline means pushing another hour. The motorcycle gives immediate feedback. It rewards attention, preparation, and judgment. For people who have a strong internal locus of control, the belief that their actions can meaningfully influence what happens, this can be deeply satisfying. Modern life often feels psychologically vague. You can work hard and still be overlooked. You can communicate clearly and still be misunderstood. You can make careful decisions and still depend on systems, organizations, or people you cannot control. On the road, the world feels more concrete. Fuel matters, weather matters, maintenance matters, your choices matter. You cannot control everything, but your competence is visible. Every small problem solved becomes evidence. I can affect my situation. A loose strap is corrected, a route is changed, a strange engine sound is investigated before it becomes a larger failure. A bad decision is admitted and reversed. These moments build self-efficacy, the quiet expectation that you can take action rather than remain helpless. For someone who feels powerless in other parts of life, this can be more than enjoyable. It can be emotionally restorative. On the motorcycle, they are not waiting for permission. They are not depending on someone else to notice what needs to be done. They are not trapped in a meeting, a relationship, or a system where responsibility is unclear. The machine responds to what they do. The road responds to how they ride. But again, a functional strength can also become a defense. A person who trusts their own judgment may be confidently independent, or they may have difficulty trusting anyone else. Perhaps relying on others once led to disappointment. Maybe promises were broken. Maybe care came with conditions. Maybe asking for help created more problems than solving things alone. So self-reliance becomes safety. The rider says, "I prefer to handle things myself." And that may be true, but preference and protection can exist in the same sentence. The question is not whether independence is good or bad. The question is, what happens when independence is no longer a choice? Can you accept assistance without feeling controlled? Can you share responsibility without becoming anxious? Can someone else lead without making you feel trapped? Can you be cared for without immediately needing to repay the debt? Mature autonomy allows connection. Defensive autonomy treats connection as a risk. And once a person becomes accustomed to trusting only their own decisions, solitude may begin to feel clearer than coordination. That brings us to the fifth and most intimate trait, the ability to be alone without experiencing solitude as simple loneliness. For days, a long-distance rider may have only brief conversations, a few words at a gas station, a nod from another rider, a short exchange with a motel clerk. Then the helmet goes back on and the world becomes private again. For some people, that absence of constant interaction feels empty. For others, it feels like relief. There is no role to perform, no facial expression to interpret, no conversation to maintain, no need to anticipate what someone else wants, no pressure to be entertaining, agreeable, productive, available, or emotionally easy to understand. The writer can exist without being observed. That can produce an extraordinary sense of psychological autonomy. At home, you may be a manager, parent, partner, employee, caregiver, problem solver, or the person everyone calls during a crisis. On the road, those identities temporarily lose their grip. You are simply the person making the next decision. Stop or continue. Turn left or right. Ride another 50 miles or find a place for the night. Without an audience, identity becomes quieter. And sometimes, in that quiet, a person meets a version of themselves that feels more authentic than the one other people know. But solitude has its own ambivalence. You can choose to be alone because your relationship with yourself is strong, or because relationships feel more complicated than distance. The road does not ask you to explain your mood. It does not become disappointed when you need space. It does not demand vulnerability. It does not remind you of old conflicts or ask whether you are truly okay. Distance is honest. People are not always so simple. A writer may say they feel most alive when no one can reach them. That can mean they have found freedom from social noise. It can also mean they only feel safe when no one can need them, disappoint them, or get close enough to see what they protect. So the deepest question is not whether solitude is healthy. It is what solitude allows you to feel and what it allows you to avoid. Do you return from the journey more available to life? More patient, more connected, more capable of being present with the people you love? Or do you become increasingly dependent on distance because ordinary closeness feels like psychological pressure? The motorcycle itself cannot answer that. It only creates the conditions in which the answer becomes visible. That is why long-distance riders are psychologically more complex than the stereotype suggests. Their tolerance for uncertainty may come from confidence, or from growing up without predictability. Their concentration may reflect inner peace, or the need to keep difficult emotions moving. Their endurance may be resilience, or an identity built around ignoring personal needs. Their independence may be competence, or a fear of dependence. Their solitude may be freedom or protection from vulnerability. Most likely, it is not one or the other. Human behavior rarely comes from a single source. The same person can be free and afraid, strong and exhausted, present and avoidant, independent and secretly hoping someone will understand why independence became necessary. And perhaps that is why the road feels so honest. At the beginning, the rider at the gas station said the motorcycle clears their head. Maybe it does. But not because the road removes every problem. It removes many of the distractions that help us avoid seeing how we relate to those problems. On the motorcycle, uncertainty becomes immediate. Discomfort becomes physical. Responsibility becomes personal. Solitude becomes impossible to hide inside a crowded schedule. The road reveals what you trust, what you tolerate, what you control, and what you do when no one else is directing the journey. And you do not need to ride a motorcycle to recognize this pattern. We all create environments that help regulate our inner world. Some people use work, some use exercise, some use strict routines, some use constant conversation, some use silence, some use isolation. The important question is not simply, does this help me? It is, what does this help me avoid? Is this a choice or has it become a defense? Do you genuinely prefer independence or have you learned not to expect support? Do you enjoy discomfort because it gives an experience meaning, or because comfort makes you feel undeserving? Do you seek solitude because you know yourself, or because being known by someone else feels dangerous? You do not need to judge the answer, you only need to notice it. The next time you see a dusty rider alone at a gas station, hundreds of miles from home, you may still see someone who loves motorcycles. But you may also see someone testing their relationship with uncertainty. Someone creating a world where actions have clear consequences. Someone discovering what remains when comfort, social expectations, and external direction disappear. The ride is not proof that they are fearless. It is not proof that they are emotionally healed. And it is not proof that they are running away. It is a mirror. Because sometimes the road does not show you where you want to go. It shows you why you needed to leave and whether you are becoming free enough to return. If you recognize yourself or someone you know, share your perspective in the comments and subscribe for more explorations of the hidden psychology behind ordinary human behavior.